Are you looking for love? Are you trying to attain peace? Are you trying to find joy? I'm here to tell you that those things cannot be found because you cannot find what is not apart from you. You cannot achieve what you already are, what is your very nature. Love, joy, and peace are who you are as a cosmic divine being. You've always been that, and you will always be that. The problem is that those aspects of yourself have become obscured. They have become covered up. You have become distracted from them. And what we need to do is we need to realign you to that basic nature of yours and recognize that those things are always there so that you can stop seeking them. And you can stop having them obscured by the opposite, by pain, by sorrow, by fear. Okay? So first you have to understand that what is happening is that you have become, let's use the word unconscious. You have fallen under a little spell, like Sleeping Beauty or something. And you are currently under the illusion that you are what in spiritual terms can be called the egoic mind, or a collection of pain bodies. The egoic self is really just the thoughts that you think, the emotions that those create, and the physical conditions that result from that process. You are stuck in a little loop, and all you're doing is thinking about those things. What you need to do is you need to reclaim your true nature, your divine nature, and you need to reclaim the energy that is being sapped by these processes. So your thought streams are taking your divine energy and sending them into emotions that build up into uncontrolled emotions such as depression, anxiety, or anger. And then those emotions, when they're not processed, condense that energy into a negative little ball of physical suffering, and that creates illness and disease. So I wanted to show you a little diagram so that you understand the flow of divine cosmic energy, right? So what happens is consciousness is your God self, your divine self, yourself as source, as spirit. And when you come into this realm, in order to become physical, you pass through energy, cosmic energy, prana, chi, the energy of life. And this energy is what creates your physical body and everything in your physical world. And when you drive the car of life from the seat of consciousness, then you consciously take this energy and turn it into what you want it to become in your life. The problem is that you have become distracted by thoughts. Your thoughts have led a mutiny, basically. They are sapping this energy, and instead of sending that energy to create and sustain a vital body, instead that energy is being drained into thoughts, siphoned into emotions, and made into feelings, pain bodies, illness, or disease. Okay? What I want to point out is the difference, what thought and emotion are. Thought, first of all, is not at all original or creative. It is on a repeat, it's on a loop, and it is, because of that, it can only generate a certain type of emotion. It can only generate some version of pain or some version of fear, some version of loneliness, of abandonment, of that flavor of emotion. And it will lead to anxiety, it will lead to depression. But you will never, through the process of thinking or activities or living this life, you will never generate joy, peace, and love. Those are your base state. It's only when you get as Eckhart Tolle pointed out, emotion actually is from, I believe, the Latin, and it means to move or to disturb. So you have your basic state of love, joy, and peace, and then this storm comes and you get an emotion that disturbs that into some sort of upsetness, lack of peace, lack of joy, fear or pain, something of that nature. And you will only ever experience compulsive repetitive thoughts that achieve nothing, negative emotions that don't help you, and pain and disease and suffering because you're stuck there. But what you can do is you can return to consciousness and through consciousness, you can wield this divine energy. This divine energy is what gives you vitality, and it is also the source of all creativeness. That is why you'll notice that people, after they've gone through a spiritual awakening, become creative. They open up all sorts of creative hobbies and forms of expressions within themselves. They start to write poetry and paint and stuff like that because they are finally tapped into that place where creativity comes from. But this is not just about artistic creativity. This is about creativity in terms of, let's call it inspiration, ideas, solutions for problems. You suddenly get insight. When you're going through your spiritual awakening and you can go back to that state of presence, in presence, the energy gives you original thoughts. Thoughts that say, hey, maybe this thing that I'm doing with my life is not a good idea. Maybe I need to change that. And then thoughts that also give you spontaneous solutions, such as perhaps I should look here or perhaps I should look there. Sometimes a name drops into your head. Sometimes you feel the urge to call someone. All of those spontaneous thoughts are not thoughts derived from the mind. They're thoughts derived from the collective consciousness. Thoughts that are in this pool of energy and that are now allowed to float through your being so that you can find solutions to what you're experiencing in life. So the solution to all of this is to maintain this state of consciousness. Specifically, as you'll see in the other videos on the playlist on the pain body, when your unconscious emotional patterns rise up, when your pain body rises up, that is especially when you want to maintain the state of consciousness, because the light of consciousness shining on those patterns will kill them and will release the trapped energy back into your life. I did a video on that recently. Please go look it up. But what I want to talk about is, what is this state of consciousness? Eckhart Tolle calls it the state of presence, the state of being. The state of being in the now. It simply means the state of not being in repetitive thought. It means you simply are, you are awareness, and you are observing, and you are not resisting, you're not labeling or judging, you're not fighting what is, you're not trying to change what is. This seems like, okay, that's a simple solution, but how am I actually going to get there? Like, when I feel flustered and I'm angry, I go, presence. What does that mean? What you have to do is you have to practice the state of presence. It seems hard at first, but the truth is, presence is your natural state. So you can achieve this. It is not some incredibly difficult thing that you need enlightenment for, or you need to have psychedelics for, or you need some great master for. No, it is your state. You are allowed to get there, and you are supported in your quest to get back there. It's just a question of remembering. And what you have to do, what I recommend, is that you practice being in that state a little bit and a little bit and a little bit every single day, and practice it more and more and more until eventually you become so comfortable and so familiar with that state that you can hold that state for a good chunk of your day, especially when you need it. You can hold that state when you're trying to be creative with your art. You can hold that state when you're trying to find a solution. You can hold that state when you're trying to pray for something. And you can hold that state when your emotional patterns and your pain bodies rise up and try to grasp you and possess you and make you go crazy. In order for you to do that in those moments, you need to know what that state is before those moments arise. And I recommend that you do some sort of spiritual practice, which could be your, meditation, but it can also be reconnecting with nature or reconnecting with people who are in presence. So again, since this is based on Eckhart Tolle's book, I do recommend that you look it up. He has a whole section on portals into the present, and he makes many good recommendations. I'm going to give you a few right now. The first that I always recommend every single time is breathing with presence. If you are being faced by an emotional challenge or your pain body is rising up in that intensity, the only thing you can really do is breathe. But even if you're just saying, I want to build this muscle called being in presence, then what you need to do is practice at least 5 minutes a day, 10, 15 minutes a day maybe, where you can hold presence through your breath. And there's a bunch of different breathing patterns you can do. I will do those in the future, but the basic thing is put all of your attention on your breath. Listen to your breathing. Feel your breathing, observe your breathing, recognize your breathing, watch the breathing pattern, listen to how it flows through your nostrils, feel the air. And don't let a little bit of your mind go and think about what you have to do, or a little bit of your mind get angry at what your neighbor's doing. No, all of your mind goes into breathing. My breath feels fantastic. This is my breath. Start where you can. Do it for 30 seconds. Build to 5 minutes. Build to 10 minutes. If you can just simply listen to the sound of your breathing, it focuses and disciplines your mind so much. And it makes you aware, more powerful than any of the other tools out there, of this nature of peace inside of you. It only takes 2 or 3 conscious breaths for you to feel peace. And 2 minutes of conscious breathing to feel joy. And to start smiling. You'll just smile for no particular reason, and you'll realize that the joy is already there in your nature. Other tools that I want to recommend, there's obviously mantras. If you're familiar with the concept of a mantra, you do not have to buy a mantra from somebody. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to go to some great guru to get it. Mantras are your divine right. They are sacred sounds that have been energized throughout time, and every culture has them. They exist online. You can find them. Put on your favorite mantra and chant it for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes every day, and recognize how the mantra calms the monkey brain, the monkey mind, gets you into stillness, and at the end of a kirtan of chanting mantra, you'll just feel, because that is what you are. The peace that you're seeking, the fulfillment that you're seeking is already there. The mantra will calm the that's distracting you from it. And then there's another concept that I want to talk about called, well, Eckhart has this beautiful expression. He says, if you're trying to ignite a piece of wood, he uses consciousness. He uses the metaphor that consciousness is like a burning light, like a flame. And if you're trying to ignite your being with consciousness, you take a log that is not on fire and you put it next to a log that's already burning brightly. And that first log will begin to burn as well. So in the same way, put yourself in the presence of people, places, and things that are already immersed in presence. So you can do this by being in the presence of great masters or elders who have already gone through their, or even just, friends and neighbors and whatever, who have gone through a spiritual awakening, who have recognized the mind, the emotions, the pain bodies, and who have learned to put those aside and not be unconsciously victims of those things. If you have such people in your physical life, spend time with them. I have seen people sober up from serious addictions just by hanging out with people who have already had spiritual awakening. But if you can't find those people in your everyday life, find them online. They have books, they have videos, they have talks. Just listen to them. In the very, very early stages of my spiritual awakening, my mind was so that I couldn't even read The Power of Now, and I couldn't even listen to the words that Eckhart Tolle was saying. I couldn't follow entire sentences. I was like, this is too much. She speaks so slowly. But I would put his videos on and I would listen to them when I was having my dark phases. And when I couldn't sleep, I would just have his videos playing on loop, and I would just listen to hours and hours of him. And something inside of me softened because of my proximity to him and to other masters. I have had this relationship with many other masters. I've listened to Guru Ma's bhajans. I've read Sadhguru's poetry. I have listened to Muji's meditations. I have all kinds of stuff, books and everything, whatever you can find. Within your own culture, go and find your elders, go and find your neighbors, and recognize that there's something that happens to people at a certain point. Their minds calm down, they're not the victims of their emotions, and their eyes soften, and their being radiates love. You know people like that. Go spend time with them. The other thing is, who is naturally like that? Children. Young children, the younger the better, not like in a creepy way, but like your own kids or your family, your friends, your neighbors. Spend time with them. Don't be rushed. Don't put them in front of a TV or rush off or be like super awkward, like, oh my God, there's a kid here. I don't know how to talk to kids. Get into it. Get into kids, man. Talk to them, watch them, observe them. Watch the joy that radiates from them. Sit there and smile at them and allow them to soften your being and to get you comfortable with the feeling of being in presence. With just simply being, without thinking, without planning, without being unconscious, to just be vibrant and alive, to hold that feeling of being present. Kids can do that. The other thing that can do that are your pets. All animals, but especially the ones that you love, the ones that you have tamed. That's why the Creator put pets in our lives, to keep us from going completely crazy. Be with them. Don't do with them. Okay, it's time to go for your walk. Okay, it's time to be groomed. Don't do with them. Be with them. Just sit with them and recognize that a cat can just sit and stare at nothing or stare at everything without labeling or judging it. Recognize that their eyes are soft, that their hearts are present, that they're always in a loving state. Recognize that they're curious. Recognize that they allow life to happen to them, and become comfortable with that state. This is what this is all about. Practicing presence just means practicing, and pets know how to get you there. There's also sacred places, obviously, temples or sacred lands, places of the ancestors and stuff. Some cultures will if you're connected to your ancestral culture, you know what I mean, or your elders know what I mean. Go find those places. Go fast there. Go pray there. Go for a walk there. Go for ceremonies there. Or just go into nature. Take off your shoes and connect with the earth. Have a slow walk. Listen to the sound of a trickling, gurgling stream. Listen to the sound of wind in the trees. At first, you will go, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. But slowly, you will become used to it over a long period of time. For longer periods of time. During my awakening, I went through an intense hermitage where my life was, it was facilitated that I was cut off from a lot of everything in life. And I was able to just sit in a garden for years. And I just sat there. And I watched the tree. I listened to the trees. I watched the birds. I called it bird TV. I knew everything. I knew all the birds and what they were up to. I watched the flower blow in the wind, left and then right, and then left and then right. I listened to the sounds of every single insect. I just sat there. And the rush inside of my being slowed down. The urgency, the chaos slowed down. So nature can facilitate this for you, especially places of beauty. If you have a place that can take your breath away or simply make you feel like, damn, that's beautiful, then what you're going to do is you're going to shift from the mind into the heart space, from the egoic person being into the cosmic person, because beauty can only be felt by the heart. The mind cannot think and experience beauty. So all of this is just to remind you of how to build your ability to hold presence, to be in the now, and how to become familiar with the place that you need to go to when you fall into unconsciousness, when you realize that you've fallen into unconsciousness, or when your pain bodies flare up, or when other people's pain bodies try to attack you. You're not going to win this with logic. You're not going to win this with strategy. You're going to win this by going back to the place of presence. And you're going to do that by knowing how to get there and recognizing that you are there. So the spiritual process, I always say, is recognizing when you have been taken over by unconsciousness, catching it. But you can either catch that that's happening, or you can catch that you have left stillness. Either way, it's the same thing, whichever one. But you have to become familiar with the state of stillness first. So do that. Do any one of those tricks. Do meditation, whatever it takes, but at least a couple of minutes a day. Allow stillness. Put aside your phone, put aside your thoughts, put aside all of your plans, and just allow stillness to flow through your being. I hope you have been enjoying this series. Please have a look at the other videos that are either linked to this video or in the playlist called Pain Bodies or the Egoic Mind.